Welcome to Hot Flash Chronicles, where midlife is messy, menopause is madness, and we're sweating through it together.
We're Angie and Shelly, two caffeine-fueled, slightly inappropriate grandmas who say what everyone's thinking.
So grab a drink, crank up the AC, and let's dive in.
Shelly!
Angie!
I am so excited. We are here to record another episode of Hot Flash Chronicles podcast.
Oh my, OMG.
OMG.
Just OMG.
OMG. So much O, so much M, so much G.
It's going to be exciting.
Shelly, what are we talking about today?
I believe we had some suggestions from people that follow us on social media, and they thought it would be very interesting if we did advice we would give to our younger selves.
I love this idea.
Yeah, like if we could go back with the wisdom we have now,
right,
and tell younger Angie and younger Shelly to not do that stupid shit, what would it be?
That is a lot to unpack. And it's like, shit, I wish I knew earlier for 100 Alex, right?
Exactly.
Is that kind of I love this.
Vibe.
And I think it was Mama Gonzo that recommended it. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
So there are lots of big things. Like of course you want to go back and win the lottery, but are we going to remember any of the lotto numbers from the last 20 years? No.
I have not been keeping track. I mean, I should have. That would have made sense.
That seems like a lot of mental bandwidth for something that will never come to fruition. However, things that I would want to say, but probably shouldn't because it would mess with the whole sliding doors thing. Oh, yeah. I would want to say, go find Jeff Witten. Go to 20-year-old Angie. And so, because then I would already have Kyle. I would already have my son. 20-year-old Angie, go find Jeff Witten. But I don't think that younger Angie Witten or Angie previous would have appreciated Jeff. Yeah. I had to go through all the bullshit of the other people.
I do think that the reason Jeff Witten was the right person for you was because the series of events that you had before that did make you more open to finding a good, decent, nice guy.
Right.
And there's some times in our lives when we just aren't ready for that.
Right. So it begs the question, are we assuming that in this universe where we're going back to give our younger selves advice, are we assuming that it's not going to change major life events that would take away people that we care about, et cetera?
Yeah, I think I believe what this really is, when you pose this question, like, what would you tell your younger self? We know in real life we can't go back and do that. So I almost think what we're saying is, what would we tell younger people, not necessarily ourselves? What life lessons would we pass on to them so maybe they wouldn't make some of the mistakes that we made?
Right.
Or what are things that if we would have learned them earlier would have changed our lives?
Right.
In a more positive way. And I know there's the whole sliding doors thing and time travel and all this.
I had to go into the wait, if we're walking the multiverse, does that mean the other universes?
It's more about what personality, what characteristics, what things about you do you wish you could have just discovered about yourself earlier?
Right.
So if I was going to go back to younger Shelly, if I was a fairy godmother, not me, and I was going to say, here's what I'm going to help. These things are going to help you as you move forward in life.
They'll serve you.
I think I would have said something to the effect of, almost all of mine would have been about believing in myself and just having a better self-esteem, because I think so many of my bad decisions came out of me not being very sure of who I was, not trusting my instincts, and not believing maybe that I was good enough or smart enough to do things that seemed big at the time.
Right. And I think a lot of mine would be around people pleasing. Like, I have done a lot of worrying about what other people feel, and it's really just, it's not that deep. It really just doesn't matter as much as we think it does. Like, people's opinions of us really shouldn't hold as much weight as they do. And things like my relationship with money, or how I felt about money, or how I felt about how I managed it. Mm-hmm. You have a relationship with money. Money is a value metric that helps us acquire things, but it's not the end all be all. Mm-hmm. And things about don't take don't take criticism from somebody you wouldn't take advice from.
Yeah,
I was talking with my mom about this today.
Really good one.
Yeah.
It is interesting that we let other people have such a heavy influence or that they can contribute so much to us actually taking an action.
Right.
Like we want to, I think for a long time, some of the people we people please, for me, it was my parents.
Sure.
And my parents had very different ideas about what life should be and what a good job was and what a good career was. They were from small towns. My dad worked in a mill. My mom was a housewife. When I said I wanted to go to college, they were like, we're not paying for that.
Right.
You don't need to go to college. You could just come work at the mill.
They immediately saw the price tag instead of the opportunity.
Right.
Right.
And they just thought that wasn't something that would serve me, even though I was a smart straight A student. They just, well, what kind of job are you going to get that's better than working in a mill? Well, lots, but that wasn't of value to them though.
Right.
They lived.
They were projecting their own limitations on you because they didn't see outside of the mill.
Right. And when people's kids move away, like when your kids go off to college or they go off to find their career, a lot of times that means they're going to move away from you.
Right.
If you're staying in that small town or small place. So I think they just thought, well, why doesn't she just want to work at the mill and continue to live here forever?
Right.
Forever living here has been good for us. Why wouldn't it be good for her? So, my parents had a lot of, and whether you want it to be that way or not, it just kind of is with your parents. It's really hard for them, no matter what your relationship status with your parents is, it's in your subconscious that you want their approval, I think.
Right, for sure.
So I'd say one of the biggest things is I wish I would have understood from a very early time that it's okay that I wanted a different life than what my parents had.
That's a really big one, I feel like.
Yeah.
I feel like that autonomy that comes, I feel like it, for most people, comes a little too late. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, wait, I can choose this thing because you're still in the approval seeking. We're kind of raised in a way in society that you kind of have to follow the rules and do the things that the teachers say and the principal says and your coaches and your parents and your aunts and uncles. So for the first part of your life, you're used to being told this is exactly how you need to behave. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden there's this autonomy and you don't quite know how to make the decisions, and it's like you're kind of fumbling through it and you fuck up, and then it's like, oh no, I fucked up. And then you put a lot of weight into that. And it's interesting that we've kind of bred this mentality because we're rule followers as children, right?
I think we are just wired to follow rules because rules often keep us safe.
Sure.
So there's a feeling of the known in rules, like we know what's going to happen. We know what the chain of events should be when there's rules in place. So there's a kind of safety in that. And I think that's part of the advice I would give is take some risks. It doesn't always have to feel, things that feel 100% safe aren't always the best route. Sometimes it can really delay you for a long time from getting to a place you really want to be.
Right.
There is safety in safety, but sometimes there's not great reward and there's not great movement forward. So it's about knowing when you should take the risk and knowing when it's better to play it safe.
Right. If the juice is worth the squeeze.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So some of those bigger risks, again, like you said, are meant to keep you safe. But when we're just flexing that autonomy and like, oh, I'm responsible now and I can make my own decisions, we don't necessarily have the skill set to do so.
Yeah.
So if we're sitting in going back to speaking to somebody who's younger and just giving them the freedom to, it's okay if you fail. Like failure is fine because we grow out of that failure. These things that are really big deals to you right now, like anytime you're in the thick of something, it can feel like that is the only thing in the world. When you're going through a rough minute, it can feel like your world is very small. Mm-hmm. And everything is falling apart and nothing's ever going to work out. And you're just consumed with whatever it is, but it always passes. I always say, I'll get through this because I always do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My track record shows that I make it through these times.
Right.
I have so far. And I think the failure thing, it's so bad that there's so many negative things attached. We just automatically think of failure as a totally negative thing. Failure is often growth.
Right.
Growth almost always comes out of failure. And it does if you take that experience and you learn from it, just like you said. And also, it teaches you that failure doesn't end you.
Right.
And that you'll have other opportunities, other chances. So taking the fear of failure away, that would definitely be one I would
Huge.
tell a younger person it is absolutely okay to fail as long
It's
as
encouraged.
as long as you don't give in and just say, well, I'm never going to try again. It didn't work. And I guess this is it for me.
It's the same reason you don't let kids win a board game, because they have to learn how to lose.
Yeah.
They have to learn that it's not always going to work out in their favor. It reminds me, so I went to Mexico a few years ago for a photo shoot, and my husband speaks Spanish. So when he and I have gone to any Spanish speaking countries, Jeff just handles it because he speaks Spanish. And I was going without him, and I was like, oh, I don't know what to do because I don't have my Spanish speaking husband.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I'm just not going to speak Spanish. I'm going to assume that they all speak English. And he said, well, you're never going to learn unless you mess up. And I was like, what? And he goes, until somebody corrects you, that's not how you say it. There is no reality where you will just one day speak Spanish until you have failed.
Yeah.
So I say that with the people that I mentor in photography. It's like, you're not going to know all of the answers to all of the problems that are going to come up in your business, or which poses won't work, or which lighting won't work, until you fuck it up. Yeah. And then you'll be like, well, that doesn't work. So it's the same thing in life. Like, be okay with getting it wrong. That's a huge one, I feel like.
I think if we just accept being wrong as part of the process, it doesn't feel as, demoralizing, or you don't have to feel bad and stupid about it. You're like, oh no, well, this is just part of the process, is I'm going to have to try it different ways and find the one that works.
For sure.
And I think that kind of also goes hand in hand with like the self-esteem thing. When I talked about, I'd go back and make myself believe in myself a little bit more. Because when you have self-esteem and good self-confidence, failures they just roll off of you. You don't think, oh, I'm a terrible person, I'm so dumb. You don't go down that road. You're just like, oh, okay, well, next, let's figure the next. When you're self-confident, you're just like, oh, there's another solution. I just haven't found it yet. I'll keep trying and I'll figure it out. And when your self-esteem is low and it's not great, sometimes you can't see more than one way out. And if that one way fails, you don't believe in yourself enough to try. I failed once. That means I could fail again. Yeah, you might fail 10 times. It's like, how many times do people fail? I can't remember. They said something about I think it was Thomas Edison. I had to fail 99 tries before I got the one time that worked.
Right. And if he wouldn't have tried that 99th time, or whatever the number was.
Yeah, you won't get the thing.
For sure. You need to fail forward and learn from it and keep trying. Yeah. That's for sure a thing. And I think that the way that we view ourselves, like people say like, oh, beauty fades. Beauty doesn't fade. It just changes. Yeah. Right. We're never not beautiful anymore. It's just a different version of it. Like Helen Mirren is just as beautiful as Beyonce. I'm trying to think, who our standards are in society. Mm-hmm. But what doesn't change, hopefully, is our strength of character. So I would rather have a strong character and a strong heart and soul for people and a love for people than to be, a 10 out of 10 on looks.
Yeah. This is another societal kind of expectation, is that we remain physically beautiful. That's something people value. Some people value it more than others. But the reality is we're all going to get older. If you're lucky enough to live a long life, you're not going to always look like you're 20. And there's people who try to capture that and hold it off as long as they can, whether that be through, cosmetics or using makeup and moisturizers and doing that kind of stuff, or advancing on to where you do things like plastic surgery and things like that. And it's like, how far and how hard do you chase remaining youthful looking? Mm-hmm. Some people, it's very important to them. Some people, it's not at all. It's really a personal decision. But the whole idea that a thing we really put a lot of worth into is how we look seems kind of silly when you look at what life really is about.
Right.
It shouldn't be that important. We've just
It's not that deep.
Yeah, it's not. Who you are, how you act, what your actions are, how you treat others, that's the depth of humanity, and it isn't to look. But here we are in a world that very much emphasizes
Rewards
and
beauty.
rewards and like people will say, you look so young, you look so young. I get that a lot because I'm almost 60, and I hear that. I've heard it a lot, and I'm like, what does 60 look like nowadays?
Right. There is no cookie cutter
No.
stamp. This is what a 60-year-old looks like, and Shelly doesn't align with that.
Yeah. It's like,
you look good for a 60-year-old? No. How about you just say she looks beautiful?
Yeah. Why
she does. The number doesn't matter.
Defined like, you look beautiful for your age.
Yeah. No, it's like, you look beautiful, full stop.
Yeah. And it's interesting that youth is also, of course, valued.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're thinking it's a compliment when they say you look younger. And
it's not a compliment, but it's not the most valuable one, I would say.
It's like, I hear that and I'm like, well, 90% of that is my genetics and I had nothing to do with it. And so you're complimenting me on something that I didn't really contribute towards.
Right. And then you had somebody a few weeks ago say that you look like old Anne Hathaway. And it's like, and like, what does that even mean?
I think they said you look like Anne Hathaway, ... old.
It's like, okay. I mean,
maybe obviously she looks like me because I'm older than her.
Also, she's stunning and you're stunning. Yeah, so congrats to both of you.
Yeah. It's like, it was weird. But I'm like, why did you have to put that on with that sentence?
Well, because it's meant to be
I guess a
dig
slam
or whatever,
or
but it really, how other people feel about me it's irrelevant because I know how I feel about myself.
None of your business how other people feel.
Yeah. And
that's their thing.
Your weight is the least interesting fact about you.
Yeah.
It's like, I always joke, I'm never going to trick somebody into thinking I'm a size 4, no matter what I wear. So wearing like slimming clothes, like you meet me, you're going to know I'm plus size and I'm okay with that. Yeah. So it's like,
Spanx can't fix everything, people.
Yeah. And it's like, then if you like undo the zipper and everything just comes crashing down, it's like, why though? But why?
Yeah, it's also like the things we'll do. Like I remember when I was heavier, I would wear black all the time because black is supposed to be slimming, or it just, you don't want to draw a lot of attention. I wouldn't wear lots of prints and vibrant colors and things like that.
Clearly, I just don't give a fuck.
Yeah,
I'm in the I don't give a fuck era,
and that's how it should be.
I really don't care.
That's how it should be. Like I'm like, that black didn't make me look slimmer.
I mean,
it doesn't.
It may have, but why?
Why did I care about being slimmer? Because I was obviously not a slim person.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a point where with yourself, and this is another thing I'd go back in time and tell younger me, wherever you're at in your looks or whatever your weight is or whatever size jeans you are pulling on in the morning, that really doesn't matter. It's, do you love yourself?
Yeah.
And if the answer is no, I do not love myself, then the next answer should be, why is that?
Right.
Why do I not love myself? Because if you don't love yourself, you're saying you're not lovable. And then you start questioning, if I can't love myself, how can other people love
You're not going to be loved in a healthy way if you don't love yourself.
Absolutely.
You might be loved, but it won't be in a healthy way. It'll either be in an abusive or codependent.
You can get, and it won't necessarily be healthy.
100%.
So you have to, if you ask yourself that question, do I love myself? And the answer is no, then you need to figure out why that is. And then you need to heal that. And if it's that you think your weight is, you weigh too much, if that's the thing, then you need to dig even deeper, because that's not the thing.
Right.
That's a superficial thing. If it's that, usually people who like overeat or are having food disordered eating and things like that, almost always that is an emotional thing.
Right.
It's a mental health thing
It's
a
a
lot of times.
dopamine drop.
It is a dopamine drop. Why are you needing dopamine drops? Why is that? Is
It's
that
pain that you have control over.
is it anxiety
Mhm.
that's requiring you to get that dopamine hit? Like everything is deeper than you think it is. So when you think the solution to, oh, I'm fat, that makes me so unhappy. I hate myself. If I change my weight, my life will be better. I know for a fact, just having gone through like weight loss surgery and losing weight, mine wasn't like that. Like I did like myself even when I was heavy, but I've been
I
around
mean, I've known you for 16 years. I've known you like massive fluctuations in weight, and you've always been nothing short of fucking gorgeous.
because it doesn't,
It
and this
doesn't
is,
matter
it doesn't
because you're
matter.
gorgeous. It
Like,
doesn't,
yeah,
the meat suit that you're wearing is irrelevant. Like
meat
you
suits
radiate from behind it.
absolutely come in different sizes.
Mhm.
And I'm around a lot of people because I'm in these different support groups and stuff for weight loss where they literally thought that losing the weight would change their life
No.
and they would become happy people. And they're like, well, I've lost 150 pounds, but I'm still sad. You were sad before.
Right.
And it didn't have to do with your weight. Like
Right.
this is the thing. And I'm using weight. It can be anything.
Right.
It doesn't have to be weight.
Well, my mentor says you attract in life what you feel you deserve, whether that's a partner, whether it's money, whether it's a career, whether it's friends. What you will attract the partner that you feel you deserve.
Mhm.
So if you feel that you don't deserve somebody because you don't love yourself, you're going to attract somebody that isn't going to treat you well. So I think that's really interesting to dig into. Like you will attract the money that you think you deserve. So we usually have a mental cap at how much we think we can earn, and we will not earn $1 more than that because we have put that limitation on ourselves. So I think one of the things I would tell younger Angie is be careful what you ask for because you're listening.
Yeah.
Be careful what you say to yourself because you're listening. Like if you put those restrictions, like the highs and the lows, like, well, I'm going to make this much, or I'm going to weigh this much, or I'm going to like whatever you put out there, you're going to get no more and no less. So do not cap it.
Yeah. I think that's one of the biggest things about if I was going to tell a 20-year-old, or a 30-year-old what to do differently, I believe it would be dream your biggest dream and go for it.
It's okay to fail.
And it is okay to fail as long as you keep failing forward.
At least you tried. Like you can respect yourself more for actually having tried than to not shoot the shot and then, well, at least I didn't fail. Then you're sitting in avoidance because you're so afraid of failing. It's like, well, I'm just not even going to try.
Yeah. It's like dream to the, no limits, unlimited, dream. Put it out there and go for it and see where you land. It might not be a lot of times as you go along the journey, you take detours and it leads to something even better that wasn't even in the original dream. I'd say it's being open to the possibilities
of more. I literally have it tattooed, no more and no less on my arm. You will get what you ask for in life, no more and no less. If you say, this is what I want, that's what you're going to get. You're going to attract that. So if you think that you're not worthy of love, or you think that you can only get this kind of a partner, that's exactly where you're going to cap yourself. You're not going to have an abundance of love if you think that you don't in your core deserve it. So I think that's a huge message to younger people is, be careful what you ask for.
Yeah.
Like
and
really
just instead of putting limits on it, say, I'm open. Yeah. I'm open to what the universe has out there for me. I'm going to explore it. I'm an adventurer. I'm going to go explore everything and find what really is my destiny. I could have stayed in that little town my parents wanted me to. And
you could have worked at a mill.
Yeah, I could have worked at those mills all closed. Yeah. Within 10 years of my dad wanting me to work at a mill, and most of those people were displaced. So I'm glad I didn't follow his advice. So and the thing is that doesn't mean you're not respectful to people who try to advise you, or that they're not doing it with love. They absolutely probably are. It's that you have to have that confidence in yourself that you believe that you know what's right for you and that you pursue it.
Yeah. Trust your instincts.
Yeah.
Like usually those spidey senses exist for a reason.
And the universe will kick you in the ass when you're wrong. Don't worry about that. If it's wrong, you'll know and you'll adjust your course.
So I have 2 nighttime mantras that I tell myself before I go to sleep, because your mind will try to solve during your dreams or whatever was the last thing on your mind. So I actually listen to like nighttime meditations that are on an 8-hour loop every night through Bluetooth. And the things that I say to myself right before I go to bed are, show me how good it can get. And thank you for showing me that this problem has been resolved. Because if there's something that your subconscious is trying to solve, if you say, thank you for showing me that this has been, you'll come to the solution. You'll crockpot it faster. But the show me how good it can get means that you're not putting that cap on what's possible. So if I would have said like, oh, I'm a photographer, full stop, then I wouldn't have been open to this podcast. Right. So it's like, show me how good life can get.
Yeah.
Show it to me. And then it's like, then you dream, you literally dream. And that's when things open up.
Yeah. It's like, I think that if we were going to recap everything we just talked about, it would be, don't be afraid to fail. Be open to whatever is out there for you, and be open to pursuing your dreams. And that's really, and love yourself. If you can do those 3 things,
love yourself more.
Done those from the time age 20 on, I might have gotten to where I am now earlier. Now, my journey was this one, and it's brought me to this place, and I'm grateful for that.
I wouldn't trade it.
And I actually did a lot of that as I went along down this thing called life. I did take some risks. I did fail and not let that keep me down. So in the end, I think I lived what I'm saying right now. I just wish maybe I would have gave it a shot 10 years earlier or something. Maybe my world would be even different. Maybe be better, maybe be worse. I don't know. But I could have probably started that process a little earlier on.
One of my friends, Nikki Klosser, she has a podcast as well, Portrait System Podcast. She was talking once on an episode about how when she gets into the negative self-talk, she sits down little Nikki into a rocking chair, and she will sit and do a visualization exercise where she's sitting down with little 5-year-old Nikki, who's sitting in a rocking chair with braids, and she's holding a little stuffy. And would I say this to 5-year-old Nikki? And it's like, oof, that hit me. I got goosebumps again. Always chase those chili dog goosebumps. If I'm saying negative talk to myself, would I sit down little 5-year-old Angie and say, you are too fat for this outfit. You can't accomplish this. Of course I wouldn't, but it's because she's a child, right? But it's still me.
Yeah.
It's still me. 5-year-old Angie is still Angie. So if you wouldn't say it to the 5-year-old version of yourself, maybe don't say it to you now. Right.
Yeah, and definitely don't believe it.
Yeah.
Like when you're saying those kinds of things to yourself, you should immediately go sit down and write down 3 things you like about yourself. Anytime those huge negative thoughts start coming in, I think they say for every 1 negative thought you have to write. I think it's actually 5.
Yeah.
It takes
a lot to counter.
1 negative thing weighs much heavier than 5 positive
100%.
things. So if you start going down that negative path, it's time to stop that, halt, and start automatically switch your brain to, I'm now going to say 5 things I'm really good at, things I'm really proud of, things other people say I'm good at. And you just need to switch that gear. That negative self-talk and that negative reinforcement is never going to serve you in this life.
100%.
It's just not.
I think it really boils down to, like you just said, like, love yourself more, treat yourself with grace, take the risks, do the thing, trust your gut, all of those things. So I think everything's kind of boiling back to really just believing in yourself.
Yep.
I think that's the core essence of it.
Yep.
Everything we said, I think really falls into trust yourself.
Yep. I think everything.
Because you've got you. You've got yourself.
Yeah. You know yourself better than anybody else does. And that's why you need to take your own gut instinct and, and there's going to be things that you think you can't do or that you're not good enough for. And the life lesson here is to let go of that and say, I'm going to try.
Yeah.
I'm just going to try. If I fail, fine. If I succeed, even better, but I'm not going to just sit here and not do it.
Don't let yourself and your own self-doubt be the reason you don't try.
Yeah.
Right. I think it's all, and it can sound cliche, but it's really true. Yeah. It really is. And I wish that I would have let it land earlier, but I've let it land now. Yeah. So
you're your own biggest cheerleader or your own biggest enemy.
Yeah.
And you just have to pick which one of those.
Which one are you going to listen to? The devil or the angel on the shoulder?
Exactly.
Totally.
Yep.
So, what a fun topic.
Yeah, it's deep.
like
it's a deep dive.
Here's the thing. When we get a topic, we just got this suggestion last night. We don't sit and write out like notes like, oh, let's make sure we talk about this and don't forget to touch on this. And then you'll talk about this. Is totally unscripted. We have an overarching topic on every episode, but we don't know what the other one's going to say. We don't know what anecdotes we'll come up with or what wisdom. But I always feel like every episode, even if it's a silly one, I walk away with something.
Yeah.
So I just think it's really cool to, not even 24 hours ago, we got this topic and now we're like, yeah, we can speak to that 100%.
Yeah. It's just like this is what this whole podcast is you're having a conversation with your friends, somebody who cares, somebody you can bounce ideas off of. And that's what we want to share with you guys.
Yeah.
And I'm sure some of this relates to you. Like you'll say, oh, that was relatable. I totally felt that way. And that's because we're trying to have the human condition together.
Right. And we want to know what landed. We want to know if you have things to add to it. That's why we always say during every episode, what was your takeaway? What would you like to add? Because this isn't just a one-way conversation. We want to hear what you guys think as well. So wherever you can provide feedback, we'd love to hear it. So we have started doing a thing as of late where we have TikTok and we have subscribers on there now.
We do.
So we have started doing shout outs to the subscribers. We were doing it to every single one of you. However, that list has grown extensive. On Monday, when we did this, I think we had 55.
Yeah.
That was 4 days ago. And now we have 89.
Yeah.
So we're going to name off all of the new subscribers since Monday. First of all, most of these subscribers came because Ann Lee gifted subscriptions to a buttload of people yesterday.
She did.
So the biggest thank you to Ann Lee for being so generous in gifting out subscriptions to people so that they can get extra content and get shout outs here. So I'm going to run through these names and we want to give a huge shout out to Ann Lee. Snippy Sue in the We Do Not Care Club, Faye Vansnuance, I don't know how to say that. Sorry.
Nuance something.
Karen, Lisa, Pip, Mandy Klein, Stacy Ann, What Up Yo, Cesar Valenzuela, It's Alyssa Y'all, 4 Chicken Tenders and a Bear, Max California, Nina Horn, Sandy, Kimberly Stay at Home Mom, Lulu, JJ's Magical Candles, Frank, Fed Up and Fabulous, Family Core, Shadow Bears, Plants on the Spectrum, Stacy Baubles 2, Michelle's Bling Boutique, Meg Jean, Bad Kitty, Chelsea, Mama Gonzo, Arky the PhD, and Brenda the Tax Lady. We're
First
excited.
of all, we love some of these names. We love
all the names. We love all the people.
These are great people.
We wanted to give you a shout out and the biggest shout out to Ann Lee Bailey because
that was just a very generous and kind.
I feel like if not all of them, most of them were gifts from her. So what an incredible thing that she's done for people. With that, we want to do our rapid fire questions.
We do.
Okay.
All right.
You want to shoot first?
Yeah, I'll shoot first. So, Angie, I know you're a photographer.
I am. Thanks for noticing.
But if you had to do a 9-to-5 job,
oh boy,
what would it be?
Ooh, I feel like a 9-to-5 specifically.
Yeah.
Okay, I would want to work in some sort of a craft store. I think it would be really fun to either teach crafts or help people with crafting, things like that, where it was something that was interactive and you could play with your hands.
Love it.
I think that would be super fun. So Shelly, I know that you had many jobs when you were younger.
Yes.
Which one was your favorite?
Framing pictures. I worked in a frame store.
That was your favorite?
Yeah, absolutely. I loved, you got to build things, you got to cut things, you got to use equipment. You got to saw things, nail things, cut glass on a big glass cutter. So there was a lot of building of stuff. And then there was measuring and map cutting and picking colors and looking at art. I absolutely loved it.
I love that.
Yeah, it was super fun.
Okay. And then, your second one?
Oh gosh. We always usually make them some kind of,
we can do a food or drink one if you'd like.
I know. I'm going to go with, if you have to pick so donuts. Let's go to donuts.
I love donuts.
And what's your favorite filled donut?
Raspberry.
Oh my gosh.
I love a raspberry with the powdered sugar. I also love a lemon one.
Yeah.
Those two are my favorite.
I like lemon
for sure. With 4th of July being today, do you prefer a hot dog or a hamburger?
You know, I get in the mood for one or the other. I don't eat hot dogs very often. I have hamburgers quite often. So on 4th of July, I'm going to go with a hot dog and it being kind of charred, like almost to the burnt phase on the grill.
Okay.
And not just a regular hot dog. I want like a Polish sausage.
Oh, a good one.
Yeah, one of those fancy ones.
None of the little weak sauce ones.
Nope.
We want a real one.
I want a fancy one.
Fancy hot dog. Okay, guys. First of all, we hope you have a happy 4th of July. Be safe out there. This has been another episode of Hot Flash Chronicles. It means the world to us that you listen. If you have time, we would love if you'd give us a like, a subscribe, a follow, or even better, a 5-star review wherever you're listening. Thank you so much for spending your time with us. And with that, we bid you adieu.
Ciao.
Bye.
That's a wrap on this episode. If you laughed, related, or just need more, hit subscribe.
Check out the show notes to find us on socials and YouTube, and join our Patreon for exclusive extras.
And remember,
we're still hot, just in flashes.